So I want to continue my education. That right there alone is something a lot of people miss because they think that they have these buckles that they know what they're doing, but there's so much into it. There's so much into the community. It's just about how the type of audience you need to be talking to. Are you talking to the ones that are just like, man, I'm just here. I just want to do my dance.
So how
Call
do
it a
we know the
day.
difference between the two? Because everyone teaches like that's what I was going to get into too of like what's the impact of media on the perspective of what we do? Like how do we hold people accountable? Who do we know to talk to when everyone's getting paid? Random people are popping up and now they're called instructors. Like it's the same thing I see in church of if I walked and you said we're going to a church, we're going to a mosque, we're going to a temple, instantly you use those three words, I instantly know what type of religion we're about to walk into. But if I were to walk into a church and I see a bunch of Sikh individuals, or if I see a bunch of Muslims, that's going to be weird to me. And that's what the only thing I'm seeing is if I want to go to church and I come to you in East Tennessee and I say, let's go to a church and you take me to a mosque, that's like, where do I go? That's what I'm trying to say. And all this is, and you kind of keep pointing to it, is education matters. And so the history of it does matter. And I'm not preaching history to everyone. What I see a lot of is a lack of accountability. And the point is, who do we hold accountable? I've tried to go after instructors and influencers. And the issue is, I think where a lot of people don't agree with me, I think if you're posting online, you're an influencer. I understand there's trends that I'm just posting a line dance. You don't post a line dance unless you want attention. And the fact of
You
the
don't
matter
post
is
unless
I
you want
didn't.
attention or just to be a shithead.
And a lot of people have messaged me and they're like, dude, you need to post more dances. And I was like, when I'm in the honky tonk and a good song plays, I don't have time to run to someone and say, can you record this? I'm focused on connecting to that individual and the song. And it's only 3 minutes. That's all I get. And that's also the point is like most bars, you got maybe, I mean, not that I go to like very old bars, but if I go to a country rave that I call it, which is the majority of what we call honky tonks today, I don't have much time. I got 3 country songs maybe, and sometimes I have 3 songs in the night. If you play a waltz and you try to come talk to me during a waltz, you're gonna piss me off because we might have one waltz that night, and you just took it from me, and it's not even a good waltz. It's a very fast Viennese type waltz that I'm not gonna enjoy, but it's the only time I can waltz, you know.
Yep.
And so when it comes to these guys, people would say, I'm trying to keep those people out of the community. No, it's about hospitality and respect. And I don't care if you want to wear what you want or do what you want, but if you're going to call yourself something and I'm going to call myself the same thing, who's right in that? You know what I'm saying? What are the boundaries of that name? And so that's where I'm curious about with media. What do you see about the perspective of how we introduce ourselves? And I'd also love for you to talk on too. We've talked about it. If someone like me or some of these rednecks who feel very defensive in a sense, because I want to make sure people understand what you might feel as an attack is me defending what has been taken. It's the same thing like with natives and a lot of other cultures that are inside of country culture. When there's no space for the very people that it was made by and built up by, you not thinking that culture matters, not you, people listening. You saying that culture doesn't matter is to me saying, I don't care about what you have to do when I'm the very person that this is all I have. So you're continuing to take from me. And in the end, I'm defending. But from your perspective, I'm attacking. Right. And so is it better for someone to focus on getting a seat at the table by shutting their mouth and going along with everything until they're in a position of power, right? You got the position of power because you did what everyone else did. And therefore, now that you're in that position of power, you can start speaking, right? Or from the very get go, do you speak the truth? No matter who you hurt, you speak the truth. And hopefully that table accepts the truth and brings you in as you are. So,
You can sit
perspective.
at the table, but you can sit at the table and still speak the truth. You can.
Who's
It's all about, so at the end of the day, like, hold on, let me finish. You can finish your point. Sorry. I
no?
was
Well,
like, wait a
that's
minute.
it's kind of that like literally like you brought up too of why you started doing certain things was because you also saw like you started throwing events because you saw that other events weren't doing what was necessary. The only reason I created Honky Tonk Traditions because I was a floor man at Red River and I gave them very easy free solutions to apply into their current situation to make my job easier as a floorman, someone who we're not there for etiquette, but like I'm there to prevent fights. And the best way to prevent fights is to be proactive. Instead of breaking up the fight, why not get ahead of it? And so people were bumping into each other, people were not respecting one another, and therefore we could throw up slides in the lessons. You can mention it, the DJ can mention it, the type of music we're playing, blah, 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 blah. And they denied me. So then I went to the instructors and the influencers in our area. They all denied me as well. And they said, it doesn't matter, man. Or I've also been told in the past year, they say, almost as though etiquette is too intense for people. They're like, we can't teach that right now. Kind of like you're saying, like people won't care about history. They're like, people will never care about etiquette, right? And so
It's funny though, with that part, with like the etiquette part, I feel like people that say that because they don't know it themselves.
Well, these are the one in particular I'm thinking of, that the last one I talked to that specifically said this in person, they're a ballroom instructor and now they're teaching here and they're a big deal. So all I'm saying is like I hear you and I understand that, yes, at the table people can speak truth. But the thing is, I feel if I make a statement and you in any point of that statement try to, I wouldn't say disagree, but contradict what I'm saying, that's now a discourse. That's now, in a sense, what some people don't like saying, an argument. And so when I bring up etiquette and then people try to make excuses for the etiquette, yes, like you're saying about boots, like everyone, that's the number one excuse people tell me. Hey, I have an injury, hurt. I might have some type of problem that doesn't allow me to do certain things, but in the end, I can still promote what should be done, you know? And so that's what I'm saying. At the table, the main table I'm seeing right now for country dancing, yes, it's starting to turn. But why is it starting to turn? I'm not going to take credit. I'm not going to say that, like you're saying, those people who, like the step sheet police, cause people to start thinking. However, it seems to me right now, people are starting to speak truth because other people were villainized for speaking the truth. And therefore, the people who are now saying, oh, yeah, all of this is allowed, all this is okay, and now they're starting to turn, they sat at the table and bit their tongue or didn't realize what they were doing was wrong. Now they're doing what I see is right, the truth, and they're getting credit for it. Does that make sense?
So it goes back to me saying people don't know what they don't know. And that is primarily what is going on in the entire, not the entire community, but a good chunk of the community. And I'm not saying just with event directors, I mean as a community as a whole. So that, exactly. They are probably, what I would say from my perspective is that with that turn, at first they were like, oh, this is the way that it needs to be, or who fucking cares, or it's just for fun, or this, that. And now you're starting to see, because I am seeing some people, I'm like, interesting. But I think what it is now is that now that they're invested in this stuff, they are now taking the time to educate themselves. So this is a point I was going to bring up is you can preach, talk about things all day long. But if it's someone like me, cool, preach, talk about it. But I'm going to figure shit out on my own. It's just some of us are just stubborn assholes that way. To where if I would have met you when I first started my dancing journey to just dance and just fucking fuck it, we ball, I would not have been friends with you. 110% with the way that you were preaching things and talking about things. And I'm not discrediting what you were saying, because the things you do say and the things that you do talk about and put out there, people should, I think people should listen to, because like you said at the very beginning of all of this, that we are the two of the same. We just have different approaches to it. And we agree with a lot of things, not everything, but we agree with a lot of things. It's just about, you have to take that extra step of knowing your audience and how to talk to people and how to educate people. And I truthfully, I think that that is why people are starting to turn, because now they're getting educated, or now they are starting to see the light of, oh, well, if I'm going to take this serious, then maybe I should start looking at some of these things or start educating myself more on these types of things. Or, like, for example, this actually is probably a horrible example, but I'm going to say it anyways. There is a business, that's the best way I can put it. There's a business that I have had the wonderful pleasure of knowing since the day they started, that they tried to work with me, be a part of my event last year, like teach things, but didn't know what a step sheet was. So they taught the dance wrong. They taught it the TikTok style. And I was like, whoa, whoa. Like, nope. Let me introduce you to copper knob. Let me introduce you to step sheets. Let me introduce you that not every dance's name is the song's name. Will they ever credit me for teaching them and showing them the way? No, but I don't care about that. That's not why I do it. I do it because I genuinely love to teach and I love to educate people. And that was like me talking about the thing with Clay. Like, people don't know these things. And when dancing started to be a trend, it didn't matter. It really did not matter. We were just getting out of COVID. People were blowing up from doing a fucking line dance. I still haven't wrapped my head around that piece of it. I probably never will, but it's fine. Social media, even though that's primarily my job, it's all fake and it's all bullshit. But now people are starting to see the frustration and starting to see, like, oh, if I really want to get into this and do comps and get more serious about this kind of stuff, I need to get away from TikTok stuff. I need to get away from this. I need to go look at X, Y, and Z and what they're talking about and what they're doing and setting the rules and setting, and like, people are setting the standards. Well, why are they setting the standards? Why are they that same demographic I was talking about are the why kids. I mean, I could even say that I'm part of that culture because I want to know the why. I don't understand. You want me to do something? Why? Why do I have to do that? What is the purpose behind you doing that? Now, do we owe people explanations for that? No. But I think that's what it is. If you were so gun ho strong, like punch, like a Kyle moment where you punch through the wall and be like, "Rah, Kool-Aid man, like here's the fucking education, man. Like I'm the Kool-Aid man, whatever it is." People aren't going to reciprocate that because it's not on their terms. It's not on their, they weren't ready to get to that point. My bangs are stabbing me in the eyeball. I was like trying to get it out when I was like moving my head, but it's just stabbing me because I need to get them cut. Anyways, people weren't ready to hear that yet. And that's why I told you recently, like, no, this is the things you've been preaching. Like, it's coming because people are now starting to see there's more pieces of the puzzle. There's more to it. There's more that want to be in it. The people that are going to do it want to be involved in it, want to be more a part of it. And like, there's so many different programs. Like, I feel like everybody has a program right now for something. And that's cool. I love that people want to educate others. But so, I mean, I guess I need to reframe and backtrack because this shit I could go all day about. Your question, like, there's so much I could say. And I sit in such an interesting spot in so many different angles that I see so many different things from so many different people. Whatever. So the main question is like, where did these people go? Like, where do people like you or the honky tonk, we'll call them the honky tonkers, where do they go? And it's hard because country swing became this influx of a trend, or what they called country swing. To where, like, where I'm from, we're not from, but in North Carolina, where I was at, two-step, let me just tell you, if you would have came to my event and watched these people, there was only two people that knew how to legitimately two-step, like legitimately. And there's different styles of two-step. That's fine. There's only two people though. And one of them, his name was Neil, and he's an old man, very traditional. He's a honky tonker. Same with I forget his other name. The other guy's name, irrelevant. Ron was his name. He was a honky tonker. He's a rodeo man. They were the only two-steppers that knew how to do it the right way. But then you see people that are throwing girls, doing candlesticks, doing these tricks, calling two-step country swing. Like, it's a very hard culture because they picked up the TikTok trend and not educating themselves. East Coast is not, I can tell you right now, East Coast is not a progressive dance place. It's not. And which is primarily what I'm doing as an event director, bringing Texas folk to come teach the way of the land, because it's not a thing over here. So I think it really falls on pushing this. It's never going to change in a bar owner's perspective. If a bar owner is not a dancer, it's never going to change. They want what's going to make them money. It's just, end of the day, that's how it's going to be. And while I think it would serve a purpose to find a happy medium, and I've preached this to you, that there needs to be a balance. If there can be country music, as much as I am not the biggest fan of it, there can also, country music and Pitbull can go hand in hand in a sense of a balance. You brought up how you go out and you might get one waltz song, one progressive song. That's not a balance. That's where I mean. There needs to be a happy medium so that when, like, the bar that I worked at, and I finally, like, I was barking enough to where they finally was like, listen to me, to where every 3 songs, it was like, it would go one line dance and then a two-step and then some other partner song. And then it would go into a line dance. And then we go into 2 partner songs, different styles of partner songs, and it would
Mhm.
rotate. So everybody had that happy medium. And I think that's where everybody needs to find that balance for to welcome the honky tonkers, to open the honky tonkers, the TikTokers, the whatever the fuck you want to call them, or the old school, the new school, whatever. There needs to be that balance. And that's going to fall on the type of music, education, but then same time, like, I hate this. This is another topic. We probably just for a different time if we need to, but it also falls on if we want to talk about events, because there's a new event popping up everywhere to where I don't think I'm going to do events after this one coming up or the one in February. I think I'm going to be done with events just for the sake that I don't know. My heart's just, I say this, but come October and come February and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I can keep doing this. So I want to keep educating people. But it falls on event directors too, hardcore. And something I've learned is how much people don't want to work together, but do want to work together. And I don't, from a business perspective, I could see why, but at the same time, still don't see why. I still don't see it. But because we all have, everybody's pushing to the standards of what country swing is, like the footwork of it. There's community leaders that I'm kind of like, what makes you a community leader? Because you're an asshole at events. So what makes you a community leader? Why are you a part of this conversation? Which is something you brought up also, because it's like, where do we go? Like, why do these people get selected? So, my perspective on this with my events, for example, I will not pick somebody to work my event if I don't know them. I don't give a flying fuck what your following is. I don't care. You could have 5 followers, and if you know how to teach people the correct way and you're a decent effing human and I've been around you, because here's the thing, I'm a people watcher and I have been to a lot of events in a lot of different places, and I watch. I watch everything in person and on social media. And if I see you're a bully or you're an asshole on social media or in person or both, I'm not going to hire you. I had 3 instructors, which I'm kind of like, oh, cool, people want to work for me, but I don't care about that. I had 3 instructors reach out to me like a couple months ago, or no, it was actually just last month. Was one of them was last month, whatever. And they were like, hey, I would really love to come work for you at Denim and Diamonds, blah, blah, blah. I heard you're doing this, this, and this, da, da, da. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm already fully booked. But I just watched you a couple weeks ago at an event belittle the fuck out of people. I see how you talk to people on social media. And as event directors, I'm not saying babysit these people, but do your research on these people before you hire them, or listen to the complaints that you're getting, or vet these people out. Like, just because they have a fucking social media following does not mean they're doing it correctly or treating their students correctly or even actually know what they're talking about. Because there was one event that I worked at, and this thing got, and these people, whatever, these people got invited to be instructors. And I flat out asked, I'm like, I knew who they were. I've seen their lessons. I've seen them. I've had students of theirs come to me crying, saying they wanted to quit going to lessons because of these people. And I was like, have you ever watched them teach? Well, I've gone to I've gone and I've hung out with them. And I said, but have you watched them teach? Or you the one teaching? I'm the one teaching. Why am I the one that has to ask those questions? As an event director, these should be questions you're already asking. Have I seen them teach? How do they teach? What kind of stuff are they teaching? How are they towards the people? As an event director, I truthfully think that is what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you have to go all the way down to the, can you trust someone's word? Sure. But at the end of the day, no. If you look at my staff, for example, for Denim and Diamonds, it is all over the place. From new to old to up and coming to people that nobody knows about. And I'm okay with that because I'm taking chances on people. People that I do know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I work with them and they're decent fucking people. Because that I think would play I really think that would help. Now, I'm not saying this is every event director at all, because I know some other event directors are great at who they pick and how they pick it and where they pick it. But that part falls into. And then just another thing with music, same thing with event directors. If you're picking your music just because you think it sounds cool or you think it sounds fun, that doesn't mean it's the right type of music to be doing. It's just, and then going back to like culture with line dancing, for example, I'm a technical dancer. I'm a very technical dancer. I'm not a flary, showy, and there's a big push for that too. Where do people go? So I ask the same question with your partner dancers as line dancers. I get asked all the time, well, where are we supposed to? I get like, where are we supposed to go if we're not doing the backflips or the splits or aerobics or aerobics,
Acro.
aerobics? My public education's coming out. So, like, where do we go? And that was also the thought process behind Mischief Events is exactly that. And I'm not saying every event's like this because I know there's other event directors that are the same way. And it is. It's the same problem as line dancing as to where do we go? You're not going to see me do a rocket high kick up to my ears. You're not going to see me doing a backflip. But guess what? I'm going to do my technical footwork damn good the way it should be. And I'll be cutesy with it. I was a cheerleader for 14 years. Like, I'll be cutesy with it. I know how to do that, but I know how to make sure my shit is sharp. Why did we get away from that? Is it fun? Sure. Yeah. Have some showy, have some flair, have some whatever. It is fun. And when I put this out here and I say this, I'm not saying that dance isn't for fun or that people shouldn't do it just for fun, because that's how people get started. That's how I got started. That's how everybody gets started. They do it for fun. 2014, do you think I would have been competing? Do you think I was going to be competing? Did I think I was going to be an event director? Did I think I was going to do all these things? Fuck no. I did it because it was something to do and it was fun. But I'm done on my tangent.
The
For now.
balance I think you're also looking for, and that's what I'm trying to find with people, is the culture. It's what we promote, what we prioritize. I think it's less about where's your space. That's not on the fact of, it's not on the dancers, because then you have to question, okay, am I supposed to do these flips? Am I supposed to do these yoga moves that I've seen people do that I have an album of saved just to make sure people like back home don't believe me when I tell them certain things win comps? But it's on the event coordinators and the judges. And the problem I'm seeing is that these judges continue to reward those things. And therefore, then it affects everything, which again, if that's the direction we want to go, again, I am not here to tell people what you should want. I'm here to ask people, if you want to call this a country comp, if you want to hand out buckles, the whole reason you hand out buckles is because you want it to be a country comp. Buckles don't come from other cultures. They come from rodeos. Straight and simple.
I'm just going to say this now. I hate that because I come from that culture. I hate buckles being a prize. I hate
I mean, again,
it.
I'm not here to take things away from people. I'm just here to say, if you want to do that, ask questions. And like you're saying, the more people want to be a country dancer, the more they seek this. But again, it kind of goes back to, why do we keep rewarding certain things? Because then it's back on me seeing, I get sent things and they're like, how did this win? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm still trying to focus on the basics. You know, like you're saying, if we're going to play this song, why are we not doing this style to it? If we're going to do it this, why are we not responding a certain way to it? And in the end, I continue to see certain behavior rewarded. And we can say, well, you know, like that's not the battle to fight. But in the end, I don't see the culture represented. And I'm not saying a farmer or redneck has to win. Please hear me say that. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your background is. You can be a country dancer, but there's boundaries. And all I'm trying to get people to first recognize through these discussions is, what are those boundaries? Yeah. And to me, I can clearly see them. And
I
to
would love like how we're shifting with everything. Personally, especially somebody that like as a judge, as an event director, like first off, I don't judge in my own events because I still get accused of being biased and that my shit was rigged. And I'm like, I don't even judge my own people. I stay away from that on purpose. I bring people in that are educated to judge these things, and they know damn well no flips, no aerials. I want clean, because as a judge, me personally, well, first off, I hate that we're in this weird weird thing of, well, they don't have buckles. Why do they get to judge? Just because you got buckles don't mean you know how to judge or look at things. Just putting that out there. Because you cannot win competitions or do competitions but still have that eye. I did this shit for 14 years. I judged and seen things in dance and way before this was even a trend. But I would rather see somebody like clean dancers than somebody doing a backflip that is going to make my inner mom freak the fuck out and break your neck. Like, no, please don't. Like, your ending cue, like, oh, I had that happen to me. Was it my first comp? I think it was my first comp. I had a guy get so upset with me because he got sixth place. And he was like, well, I did this cool, like, drop at the end of the song. And I was like, okay. And I watched his video and I said, well, you missed the whole wall. You did this. You did. I was like, and I was professionally critiquing, like giving him feedback, which that could be a whole other subject to talk about too, is giving feedback to people. But
Grade cheats.
so it's not, you take away. I think I'm having a hard time with these competitions because when I look at competitions, I think you're supposed to be challenge yourself. First off, we were just talking about this before the episode. I think you should be challenging yourself. I think you should be clean and technical with it because that's what a competition is. Now, with partner dancing, you can be like, I don't want to say showy, but it is showy. With like the really like, I would love if we could get back to that kind of stuff. I would love that. To where it's like the pretty dresses and all that other stuff. But it's like with line dancing, for example, I judged a comp and we got told technical. We want technical, not the super showy, flashy, all over the place, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I judged. That is literally how I judged. I've also judged comps that are like, meh, do whatever they want, whatever you think's right. But you should never, never say that. And I was just like, okay, so I did that. And the person that won that comp was so flashy that he was so all over the place that you couldn't even tell the footwork. And I was like, and me and another judge looked at each other because we were on the same wavelength. And he said something to me first. He goes, what the fuck? Mind you, I don't know who this. I've had one conversation with this dude, and he was like, I had him almost dead last, and I was like, so did I. And it was like, he's like, I thought we were supposed to do technical, and I said, so did I. But because there were so many, the way the scoring was, because the other judges picked him for the showiness, it was like it didn't matter. So it's like, again, it goes into event directors, it goes into the judges, and judges being actually educated. I think everything boils down to education. Everything boils down to that.
And where are we getting our education from? That's my thing. Is it seems to me like this new transition, again, I love that we're transitioning, but I still talk to specific event directors who want to make this honky tonk country feel, and we're still bringing in West Coast swing, we're still bringing in ballroom, which again, ballroom's great. It keeps a lot of our, to me, it's like a museum. It keeps our standards consistent. However, ballroom is different than ballroom, very different. And that's also why I see ballroom is so accepting to bring us in, is because they are also dying. UCWDC is dying. They don't have enough people coming in. That's also why we see like a lot of women leading other women, because there's not enough men. There's no one going to the ballroom right now. And so when we as country dancers, we see that there's a problem. Who do we run to? It's not the culture. We instantly run to West Coast swing and we instantly run to ballroom. And so what's happening, what I see is people are learning two-step, but then they're confused about like me. This is how I also started honky tonk traditions. Was I was told I wasn't two-stepping because I was doing a Texas two and not a traditional two, what they've regularly seen. So I was literally discredited for doing something more cultural than them. And in the end, they wanted to be cultural. You know what I'm saying? So people are now, I think people are seeing two-step as it's almost elitist thinking. If I can learn traditional two, I'm more country than you. I'm a better dancer than you. When in the end, our focus should have been, am I representing the culture better? And again, like pretty dresses. We'd love to see people in pretty dresses, but what pretty dresses are they getting? Are they wearing Latin dresses? Or are they wearing country dresses? And so that it still always comes back to me about the culture. And are we getting better dancers? Yes. There's such skill in all the dancers that I see, but I've never focused on the skill in that sense. I want to still just see basics. And that's a huge issue I have with contemporary country is you learn all these cool moves, but then you don't ever enter a closed position. You don't ever establish a basic because moving is not a basic. Footwork is a basic. And yes, now we're starting to reinvent the wheel and we're starting to create, well, this is how we do this and this is how we do this. That's how West Coast swing got formed. They went into Western swing places and counted and said these people regularly do this, but because those people in the culture weren't writing down the steps because they didn't worry about the steps, they just worried about dancing. It's what their grandpa taught them or their mom or dad taught them. Now that we skipped so many generations, the only people that we can look to is really the ballroom, because people who learned from their parents are so pissed off now that it's hard for us to have patience when people don't respect. They might ask why, but then we tell them and they're like, no, that's not it. And it's like, yes, it is. And then someone like me has to talk to certain people in the culture and say, hey, this is the count. And they're like, that's not the count. And I'm like, I've spent so much time of my life learning how to speak ballroom just so I could talk to these ballroom people. And I'm coming to you as a redneck, as a hillbilly, quite literally a hillbilly raised in the mountains of the Ozarks in Arkansas, telling you as a equal, you have to learn how to count. And they're like, we don't have to learn how to count. We just feel it. And I was like, you're literally saying that you can talk in slang and people will understand what you're saying. They don't understand what you're saying, and people can say that I'm doing the same thing, but in the end, I'm probably the most educated redneck you're going to get outside of people over 55, 65 years old. I've yet to meet another person there's about two people I know that are from the culture, that learned the language, that can speak to multiple genres. And I also want people to know, if they've made it this far in this conversation, this isn't a country problem. This is not a country dance problem. Latin dancing is having the same issues. Hip hop is having the same issues. People I literally will hear in hip hop, what you would think is the most evolutionary style of dance, people just want to come and learn choreography and then post it on their socials. They don't care to take the time that takes years to learn how to walk in heels. They don't want to take the time it learns to learn how to move their body in a certain way to represent who came before them. Because again, if we don't know who came before us, how are we truly evolving the dance? What I see is people, because again, country dance skipped 2 to 3 generations. We have people now that are speaking for the culture when they themselves never learned it. And that's where I have the issue is, cool, you didn't learn it. I don't care. That's fine. But when you then speak down or think I'm being mean because I'm telling you the way it is, we can change the way it is. I don't care. I'm not here like some old heads that want to hold on to it. I'm just asking us, if we don't want to do the culture, let it die. Let's move past it. That's why I love that I'm seeing now people are calling stuff modern. Great. But don't hold on. Don't confuse people. Don't hold on to the perspective that you're speaking for country folk. And when you hand out buckles, when clearly you're using boots and country themes to promote this modern style, you're taking from us. And people, I've been told multiple times, specifically by someone we talked about, they say that, oh, if you like, this style is not affecting you. It's taking money from what could be paid into other cultural people's pockets, therefore promoting the culture. So you're literally appropriating in the worst way. And and that's what I'm saying too, is people at the table, they're kind of just letting stuff slide. They know their students don't care about the culture. They know their students speak negatively about people. And they're also not trying to mediate, for people that are seen as rude or mean, they're not going out and trying to talk to those people. They just give up on them. And to be honest, that's why I'm moving towards music too, is because I know that right now we see people will say, oh, these traditional styles you're speaking of are old. We have people, I'll tell you right now, tonight, that will drop music. It's a Thursday. We're recording this. We'll drop it in 2 weeks. But this Thursday, I'll tell you that Thursday that this drops, there will be brand new music, brand new, that are in mainstream Nashville now. We fought for so hard. Look at Zach Top. Look at his album. He had a waltz, he had a polka, he had a two-step. Two-step branches out into triple two. He had a triple two. He had a cha-cha. He played in the honky tonks. He knows these dances, and he released brand new music for us. But who in the country community is going out and saying Zach Top dropped a waltz? Who is saying Zach Top dropped a triple two? Instead, we're playing contemporary country, which again is country for any of my rednecks in here trying to say Morgan Wallen isn't country. He's country. He's in a different pin than us. People think we're gatekeeping when I'm not going to speak for everyone. I'm trying to build fences. I'm trying to create boundaries, not to limit you, but to say, if you're in this pin, speaking for my pin, you're not respecting me. I'm giving you that space. Go do that. That's fine. But if you're going to try to tell me that Morgan Wallen promotes honky tonk music, I'm going to laugh in your face. If you're going to tell me that Russell Dickerson promotes honky tonk music, I'm going to laugh in your face. Brett, like, name a mainstream contemporary artist, and I can tell you that sometimes they do drop two steps. Sometimes they do drop waltzes or polkas. They don't know they do that, though. And also, halfway through the song, it switches beats. So therefore, like you're saying, with these people picking this music, it's so difficult because it doesn't promote a two-step. I can just two-step to it. That's what I ran into so many comps. I mean, you saw me have to react to it at a certain convention that I went to. One, I didn't have space to dance. And two, it was very difficult for me to change to that rhythm because I'm listening to the music. And therefore, I didn't get to do a lot of moves I wanted to do. I didn't get to express with my partner what I wanted to because the entire time she's looking to me and I'm not looking anywhere because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It just switched now to a polka. I don't know what's
Yeah,
going
but
on.
but then that goes, and I've said this to you before, is that with that situation, that opened a door for conversations. It opened a door for they
But
didn't
who got
know.
invited in? Did they invite me in to talk about it?
But here's the thing, this is what I'm saying though. This is what I said earlier. It's not about you, it's about how they want to do it. Because like my stubborn ass, if I was in that position, I already knew what you were gonna do. But if that I was in a position where I didn't know that was gonna be a thing, because normally it's not a thing. Progressive is not normally a thing. And that's what I was saying on the East Coast, progressive dancing is not really it's a thing, but it's not a thing. And so you opened eyes that was like, there's a want for this. There's a thing for this. It doesn't mean that they have to come to you. It means that now that opened a door, you're leaving breadcrumbs in ways that leads them in a direction of where they were like, oh, maybe we should do this. Because like this year, there was a two-step comp. There's a whole other now there's more two-step comps
But was there
coming
Texas
up.
2? Was it Ballroom 2 or was it Barroom 2?
I have no idea. I
It
don't
was
know.
Ballroom 2-step.
But it opened the door.
Of
Same thing
course,
with
but
me. But here's the thing, but the same thing with like my comp, my second comp, I'm not a partner dancer. So in my brain at first, I was like, I'm not going to do partner dancing at my comps because I'm not a partner dancer. But then when people were like, oh, here's this thing, but I'm like, there's so many different styles. And I'm like, I'm not in that world yet. So let me slightly open the door a little bit. And then, okay, cool, here we go. Now I'm opening the door even more to my third one. Same thing with this event and other events. I've seen an influx of it here lately. Like everybody's starting to get on the progressive train outside of Texas. Everybody is starting to walk towards that two step and everything else because and all it does is take it's not about what you say, it's sometimes about what you do or how you say it. And how you said it was like, well, this is an open comp. I'm gonna fucking progressive dance because I progressive dance. But again, it's not something that say going back to that demographic, they don't know what they don't know until something somewhere makes that sometimes it's just a weird ass moment that's like makes that light bulb like fucking snap. And it's just like it's the way you can't force these kind of things on it. It finally has to get to a point, which again is coming back to that turn.
it's been forced on us though.
Not that one.
I'm being forced to like change to the norm when the norm isn't norm.
But the norm is also changing.
But again, where is it going? And if we don't know where we've been, we don't know where we're going. And the thing is, I'm not trying to live in the 70s. I'm not trying to live in the 80s. I'm living right now with the Renaissance. And and you've seen it, music, outdoors, everything that does with the culture. And that's one of the questions I was going to ask you about, like, where does dance fit into this? It feels like we're the only art style that is not getting with the times in a sense, which is not going backwards. The Renaissance is not about going backwards. Look at all the Renaissance movements. They looked backwards and created new. Look at Zach Top. Some people might call him a karaoke guy, or he's copying the 90s. I can see that, right? But people like Jake Worthington, they're taking their culture. He's already has that old sound, and he's simply making new things, new ideas with it. And so, where are dancers making something new that represents the old? Because where they went new actually used to be a style that was never a style. It was meant to literally be nothing. It was what you did when you didn't know how to do anything else. And now people, like you're saying, are starting to recognize there is something else. But who are they going to? They're going to the ballroom when there's people. And that's why a lot of people told me I should make my slogan, make Honky Tonks country again. I feel that's disrespectful to the people who have kept Honky Tonks country. That's why I say just keep Honky Tonks country. You know, there's people who have been doing this without breaks. When stadium country came in, when pop music came in, blah, 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 they maintained the culture and stood strong. They showed country culture because they were stubborn, they were outlaws. And so, where in the country community are we rewarding outlaws? Where are we rewarding those people who are standing out and saying the truth and sticking to it, even if they're outcasted for it? Even if that brings that light bulb moment, we are not going to that light bulb, the point of that electricity, and saying, what is this? Tell me about that. Instead, we're going to the ballroom and saying, what are they saying here? And they're like, oh, that's two-step. Let me show you. And they show them the ballroom two-step instead of going to the people who inspired them and asking their perspective.
Well, the thing is that, again, we can't force people to look at the things the way that we think they should look at, or the way, because everybody learns differently. And I know I've told you this before, is that because of how, like, I'm an aggressive person, so like what you're saying, I would reciprocate. But if I talk to Joe Schmo over here who needs to be visually shown things or see things, for example, you competing at that competition, that was their light bulb moment of, oh shit, maybe I need to look into this more. Maybe I need to educate this more. Or maybe I should be listening to the people that were already preaching it to them before the event even fucking happened. And it's not, I feel like we are going in a direction very, very slowly, like, but it's going in a direction that it's either going to be a sink or swim. We're either going to figure out how to work together, especially as event directors. And this is what I was saying earlier, is like, it really pisses me off how, from a business perspective, I can understand why, like, ew, we can't work with those people, or we can't collab, or we can't do things, or we can't communicate with these people. But at the same time, like, if everybody could just pull their heads out of their asses, which is kind of like why I don't want to leave the dance scene, because, and I might be wrong when I say this, I feel like I sit, going back to our table perspective, as I've always been loud, I've always been vocal, I've always spoke my mind when it came to certain things, but I sit at a very unique spot because I have my hands in so many different cookie jars. And it makes it really hard for me to see certain things or understand certain things, because it's like I see changes coming, but why we're not working all together, at least to set a standard, for example. So, just for an example, the footwork of things, or why we can't collab on certain things or communicate with certain things, or we just gotta like get pissed off about weird shit. Drama within that is just a whole different subject for a different day. But I feel like it is slowly getting to a point where people want to be educated, or trying to be educated, but don't know how or where to look exactly. So I think that's also where all these courses were coming, because people are really seeing that. People are seeing that these people want to be educated. They just don't know where to go, and they can't afford to go to an event, because going to an event is very fucking expensive. I couldn't imagine going to one of these events on my own, like without something being compensated or working or being hired or whatever. Because it is like, kudos to you. The fact that I have, like, for example, all these people, like my Ohio event, I have more out of state people coming than I do locals. And same thing happened with my last Shine Down. And it is amazing to me. Like, it's kind of like, it makes me, I'm emotional about it. I cry about it. It's fine in a good way. But it's like these people invest so much money into all these different things, but that not everybody can do that. So there needs to be somewhere, somewhere down the line, and I've debated on, trying to do that, is creating a space, or creating a digital space for people, and creating that table. That's what I've always done. I used to have a nonprofit called Seat at the Table. Fun fact. When I used to work in politics, and creating that table for people that want to learn, but I'm not charging them shit. Everybody's making it a money grab. They want to put the education out there. It needs to be put out there, but is it an expensive money grab in a shit show economy? There is nothing out there right now. I mean, there's your stuff, but like, as a primary line dancer, if I didn't know you, your stuff wouldn't pertain to me. I don't. I don't think I would ever like listen to majority of your stuff because it doesn't, in the perspective that I'm in, I wouldn't.
Well, I would love
Um,
to get into line dancing, to be honest. I only have a few in my back pocket, but that's because, again, what type of music are we playing?
I seen you try to line dance, aka Tina twerk, on that dance floor with a hula hoop.
Oh, that's a little with a hula hoop.
Yeah, you
Oh,
don't
I don't
remember that?
remember that.
We
No,
were
I think
was it
okay,
electric?
yeah, yeah. I don't know why they had hula hoops to begin with, but like freight train and others like other dances I'll do, but the issue again is I can't fully commit to line dancing because line dancing right now is allowing a lot of music that I can't partner dance to, and my goal is to get line dancers and partner dancers to align on music. Both can stray, that's fine, but it's a fact of like we both want to be on the floor at the same time, right?
Mm.
And so we can only play one song at a time. Most everyone can. There's a few honky tonks that have two different floors or country raves, but in the end, most everywhere shares a floor, and that's how it should be. Same thing. We should be dancing a lot more to live music, and normally also line dancing kind of takes over places. That's why we have honky tonks right now closing down in the middle of a renaissance, because people don't drink, they don't care. They're just there to dance. And the thing is, yes, if you don't want to drink, I'm not here to promote alcohol. If anything, I don't even drink that much, but I drink and I can dance the same because how my dancing is with my boots and everything else. Country dance is very solid. If I look at Latin dancing, I think they're very passionate. If I look at West Coast swing, I think they're very adaptive people. It affects them as who they are. With country dancers, we're very stubborn, and that shows in our dance because we're not stiff. We are not stiff. The same way you ride a horse. A good horseman does not ride stiff. They ride strong. And strength requires you to move. However, when we move in a direction, we move 100%. We don't half-ass anything. Anything in life we're doing is worth overdoing, and we believe that. We live by that. And that's what I'm seeing with line dancing. I don't see that mentality, and that's why I don't line dance, and that's why I don't teach on it. I leave that to someone else. I have enough work in partner dancing to do. But down the road, I would love to get more into line dancing. I would love to compete in line dancing. But in the end, I get into a line dance comp, and there's one country song, and then I have to learn three like songs that aren't. And like you're saying, I'm not going to get down on my knees and do like some like expressive dancing to like get the judge's attention, right? I'm not going to do a handstand, even though, again, being a competitive collegiate cheerleader, I can do anything that I've seen these gals do and the guys doing standing back tucks. I can do that. Am I going to on a hardwood floor? Hell no.
I don't think it has any business being in there. To be honest,
And
I don't.
again, I think that's up to debate. But in the end, what is that backflip doing to promote culture? And I think there is a place down the road. I would love to have fun. Look at Hee Haw, an old country show. If you're listening to this still and you have never heard of Hee Haw, go look it up. Country folk have fun. But the thing is, you can't have fun unless there's trust and there's safety. And to me, the best way I can know if a team is working well together is if they laugh together. But if all you're focused on is laughing together, you're not going to get any work done. And so for me, I don't feel confident and comfortable to have fun with a lot of country dancers because I don't want them to take what I'm doing as a standard. I've had so many people, they've seen me even in Hey Dudes. They're like, oh, he's not dancing in boots. I was like, yeah, I don't always dance in boots. I'm not saying it has to, I'm not a purist. People think I'm a purist. And I was like, I wish you could meet some of the people I have to talk to that are rednecks. They're purist. They think it should only be 90s or earlier music. They think you have to dance this way. I don't think there's a have to in country dance. There's a should. And to me, I don't think a lot of people believe that. I think they think, like you're saying, it's just do whatever you want. And to me, that is a very contemporary mindset. That is a very not even country mindset. I think that's a very US currently mindset to where we do as we want until you cross your boundary. And that's where I think we have a very individualistic mindset, not just in the country dance community, but everywhere in the US. We like to say we're welcoming to people, but we're only welcoming until you cross my boundary. And then I'm allowed to get pissed at you. I'm trying to follow the standard. Going back to church, I'm trying to follow scripture. And if you think that scripture is restrictive to you, why do you want to be a part of it? If you don't want the tradition, why do you want to be a part of the family? Shout out Hank Williams. You know what I'm saying? They want to be a part of the family. And I'm like, please join the family. There's seats at the table. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to walk in with dirty boots or you're going to walk in a sports bra and think that you can sit at the same table as me, I can't invite my family to what you're doing. I can't bring my granny to these dance events because she's not going to see what she's used to. And again, things change. but she's not going to see country dancing. She's going to see what Harley thinks is country dancing. She's going to see what this instructor thinks is country dancing. She's going to see what this event coordinator. And my hope is that these events coordinators and these instructors and these influencers understand responsibility. And with responsibility comes accountability. But like you're saying with standards, how do we keep these people accountable if we can't agree on the standard? My standards come from history. My standards come from truth, right? If you want to get your truth somewhere else, I just ask that you take that dancing that way too.
I think something that would be really good off of what you just said to like close, like kind of close, like wrap up if there is, because we've been at this for 2 hours. Something that I would love to challenge people as whether that's a dancer, event director, whatever it might be, or somebody that's looking to pursue into this community, whether that is jumping in to be an instructor or jumping in to be a judge or jumping into literally anything, is I want to have that table. I want to have that table, which I kind of already do, but like promoting it more. I want to have that table to where if you, no matter your background, no matter where you come from, no matter what you identify as or your background in dance, you could have no background at all. You just saw a cool TikTok and you're like, oh, I'm curious about this. Or you saw a Honky Tonk Traditions video and you're like, what the fuck? Who's this guy? I couldn't tell you the amount of times I get your video sent to me and I'm like, yeah, that's John. That's John. To where ask the questions. Don't think you're going to be stupid or, afraid. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. That's the most important thing is like always ask. Always, always, always ask. Because people like me, I'll give you as much as knowledge as I got. I ain't gonna smoke up your ass. Or if you want my opinion on something, just be like, I am a feral human being, so I don't coddle. I'll coddle if I have to. My mom's side will come out, but don't be afraid to ask those questions when it comes to anything. Like even with programs, ask about educate yourself. There are so many different programs. When you go into a program, why are you choosing that program? Are you choosing that program because of who's running it? Are you choosing it because you know someone else is doing it? Are you choosing it because you heard good things on social media? Are you like, you need to sit before you jump into any program and be like, why am I choosing this? What purpose is this going to serve to help me better? And or what can I do to be more involved? Like there's so many questions you can ask and you may not even know what question to ask. And that's okay because there's people like myself that are trying to create these events and create these things to open the discussion. So for example, like Denim and Diamonds, it's in February. I asked every single one of my instructors, I said, what is a class that you have wanted to teach or would like to teach or to introduce to these people? Because it's not the norm. People, most of it, like a lot of event directors want, hey, they know they have an all-star, so like, hey, or a West Coast swinger, so they're like, hey, can you teach us West Coast? Or hey, can you teach this advanced line dance? Or hey, can you teach these specific things? But I opened that door, that table for them to come sit at, be like, hey, I'm giving you an opportunity to teach something, as long as it makes sense, to teach something that you feel passionate about. Because I think that's also where people go wrong, is that they get put into this mold, this little mold, and they don't get to let their wings go
So
even further.
you'd say that trying to create freedom and expression, and it can also be restricting.
I say if it makes sense, I mean like, is it going to, like, if you wanted to come in and talk about a culture class, okay, come and talk about a culture class. I have somebody that is coming in to teach, oh, what did she say it was? It's not a normal class, but it's not a normal dance class or it's not teaching line dance, not teaching dance, but it's teaching.
Is she teaching you how to dance to whale sounds?
No, stop it. No, not that class. But it's an actual sit down and educational class where it's that's what I mean when I say if it makes sense. Like it's going to benefit people that are coming to this event or benefit people in a sense that they're going to walk out with some sort of new knowledge or something that is not normal that you're going to find at a convention.
And is it new knowledge of dance or new knowledge of country dance?
With her specifically, I can't remember exactly what it was. It wasn't anything. I really need to look up what she said because I really like because it made sense where it was like, oh, that's different. Oh, that's actually would benefit the community type thing. That's why I let her do it. Or like, it's like, yeah, I'm all for it. Um, I really don't remember what it was. I have to remember. I have to look it up. But yeah, it was just. The long story short was what opening that door, and I feel like more people need. I don't necessarily care about the whale sounds, but it's you're still talking about it though. People still use it. People were talking about it at the last event that I was at, and they were using it. So it clicked in their brain, and it goes back into knowing your audience.
I was just told about it.
Well, no, I'm saying like, yeah, I was told about it too. I didn't go to it either, but if it made sense to them, if it makes sense to people and it helps people, and actually I do. I saw that class. That class was packed, and people stayed in it the whole time. But again, it's about knowing your audience. It's about just because we're not vibing with it doesn't mean they're not vibing with it. And it's a weird way to make things click in your brain. I took my first private at Forever Country, and because I don't ever get to take like I don't. That's the only time I ever get to partner dance is if I have to pay for her private, and they were just like wording it in ways that it just finally made me click in my brain. The basics, because that's what I wanted. I wanted the basics, but it was like different basics and some, but they were saying things that made it click in my brain where it may not have clicked in a classroom setting. And going back to all these like the education things, like how do we, put these things out there and do all these different things. It's just knowing what audience you're talking to.
And that's, again, I 100% agree. I'm trying to find a country audience, a country dance audience, and that's what it's hard for me to know what people want to know when it's like they come to me for bar coast or something. It's difficult. And I point people in other directions. I say, hey, I don't teach that, but you can go to this person, or hey, I teach this type of two step, but if you want to learn that type of two step, it's there. I think it's important for instructors too, to also make people aware of other things. Hey, you
Oh,
might go to this
100%.
area and they're going to be doing this. Now, I'm going to teach this. I want you to adapt to their floor. This is how you would adapt to their floor. Every basic lesson I give, I go over polka, waltz, and two step. And then I tell them etiquette. I teach them that. And then I tell them, if you go to these areas, you'll learn this. If you like traditional two, you can go this direction. There's ballroom instructors who will teach you more in traditional two. I teach barroom, which is more of the Texas two, El Paso two, even the Cajun two step. Like we focus more on that. And I don't think either is better or worse. But again, if I'm in a drag race and I tell someone how to drive a truck, that's kind of unnecessary for them, right? So I'm going to teach them and send them to someone who teaches them what they want to learn. And that's where I'm saying country is so diverse. And I feel like we're missing a lot of our diversity because we're so focused on trying to create some style that covers everything when you can't cover all of country. Even I can't cover all of country. And also, I don't know everything, which is why I think what you said is important. Ask questions and also realize if you make a statement, your influence is important. You might see yourself as little, but someone like me questioning you means that I value what you have to say. And if you say it wrong, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to ask you questions to make you recognize, I don't think you know what you're talking about. And that's where then you get to say, I learned from this person. Okay, then I'm going to go talk to that guy. But when you make a statement, you're responsible for that statement. You know that in the military. It doesn't matter if some higher up did this, you're still going to get punished. But then they can go talk to that superior and say, hey, why did this guy do this? Oh, well, I teach him that. Okay, well, we're going to stop teaching them that. Okay. And it's because of blank, blank, blank. This is our standard. And it's hard to standardize a bar room when everyone has different mentalities of where they want the bar room to be. And so, yeah, staying curious is a huge deal. I receive the same statements from every single person that disagrees with what they have to say to me. It's clear that there is a commonality between instructors, but these instructors will not take accountability for what they're teaching because they think it's just for fun, or they don't value the culture. But I digress.
If you get paid to do something, you should have a better understanding. You should be educated. You should be and there are a lot of instructors. I'm not saying every instructor. I'm saying there are a lot of instructors out there that do take the time, that do have a legit background, that have taken the time to understand and know the things that they know. But then you've got other instructors that get paid that still have some tweaking to do. And we all learn somehow. We all fucking, it's not like we come out of the womb knowing how to do these things. But I think, no, I agree. So I think the biggest takeaways from this, if people are still with us, is stay curious. Education is key. There was another one. There was one more. I had a third one. The biggest one is stay curious. I think that's a huge takeaway for this one. Ask questions. Ask all the questions. Be a sponge. I tell students that all the time, whether that's in dancing or anything, is to be a sponge. Absorb it,
always.
and then squeeze out what you don't want or doesn't make sense to you.
That's what it irks me. People will say, "I'll never be as good as you," or something else. And I was like, one, first of all, brother, I'm not up with certain people that you think I'm up with. But two, dance, you will never perfect. Anyone who says they are an expert is never an expert. Same thing. If anyone has to say they are something they're not, and egos get in the way, not just in country dance, but in every dance style, because we feel once we learn this move or once we learn this, once we get this award, we're somehow now the know-all, be-all.
Mm-hmm.
But things are constantly changing. But that's what I love about specifically partner dancing is every time I dance with a new person, I'm a beginner. I have to adapt to this follow. I have to learn how they react. I have to learn certain things. And even if I have someone I partner dance with for a long time, we are always learning. There's always something to learn. And so I did not create this series to be the experts or the know-alls. I created it so that maybe we can start tabling conversations at conventions and conferences and competitions so that the change we see is not what this person says or what this person believes, and then it becomes a popularity contest, but it's us seeking the truth and getting to the roots of what we want as a community and who we want to be as a community. And so I'm going to give you the mic now, and I'd love for you to tell folks what you got coming up, where they can find you on social media, also in life, what events you have, where you'll be maybe for the next year or anything you got on your schedule right now.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit. First off, thank you. This conversation's been long overdue for us for a while. We've had our fair
We
shares
should have
of
split it up.
duking
We're
it out.
both
It's okay.
conversationalists. Yeah.
I know
Hopefully they're
that's like
just doing house chores or something.
it's okay. So yeah, my company is called Misschif Media. It is Misschif. Fun fact, that used to be my road name when I used to ride motorcycles. That's where it came from. You can find me either Misschif Media, or you can find me at Misschif Events, or at _ Harley G. But I have a podcast called Talkin Mischief. So I got quite a bit going on. My upcoming events, I have a Halloween event called Boots and Booze in Columbus, Ohio. And then I have the big annual Shine Down called Mischief's Denim and Diamonds Shine Down in Knoxville, Tennessee, February 27th through March 1st, 2026. Fun fact on that name came from the Shooter Jennings song Denim and Diamonds, where he talks about don't mess with her when she goes dancing on a Friday night, Denim and Diamonds. Hee hee. That's where the name came from.
So Shooter, he's been doing a lot in music, producing a lot of new sounds. And also, well, when this is recorded tonight, we have Waylon Jennings' new music coming out.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Oh, fun fact, I'm going to shoot Way Jennings in tomorrow.
Come on.
So, anyways, but yeah, so that's what I got going on. I've got quite a bit of events coming up that I'm doing media. So catch me if you can at Forever Country Dance Fest, Sweetheart Jamboree, the Edge Dance event. Oh, I'm going to the PNW, the St. Peter one in January. I'm pretty sure there's more, but that's like what my next 6 months looks like.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you, Harley. I really always love the way that you show people as they're working. You really put things into perspective, quite literally, with simple media, but you do it well. And I love the heart you have for what we do as a culture. And so we had a lot we could have talked about, but you know us, we go on
I
our
should have to
way.
do
So
another one. I should have to do like
yeah,
part 2, 3,
I
4,
would love to
whatever.
keep bringing people back. But yeah, this series, we're just going to keep bringing in country dancers. And so the first episode, we had Nelson McKinney. And this next one, we'll have listening to, you're going to have a country musician. And that's how it's going to be, just a back and forth, alternating between musicians and dancers. And our goal here is to table better conversations. So stay curious. I appreciate you, Harley, and the time you gave me. And in the meantime, y'all keep honky tonks country.
And be a decent effing human.